weekly STEP meeting. Our format is as follows. A speaker is asked to talk for 25 to 30 minutes on the STEP of that week, followed by discussion or questions until 7 p.m. You can find these weekly meetings on our YouTube page, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe, and share. That brings us to the speaker portion of the meeting. On this day, May the 10th, 2021, in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, at the Monday night 6 p.m. Stay Alive Literature and Step Group of St. Paul's Lutheran Church. Tonight's speaker is Nick, and he will be sharing his experience on 6 and 7. Let's please give him a warm welcome.
My name's Nick. I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Nick.
And I'm grateful to be here, and I'm gratefully clean and sober. And I'm going to start off just by saying a quick prayer, a set-aside prayer. Dear God, set aside everything I think I know about myself, my illness, the big book, the 12 steps, the program, the fellowship, the people in the fellowship, in all spiritual terms, especially you, God, so I may have a new light, a new experience with all these things. Please help me see the truth. Amen. Amen. And a big part of my recovery is prayer and meditation. When I was asked to do this, asked to talk, again, my head starts going, what am I going to say? How am I going to say it? Who am I going to impress? And then I got to cool my jets and say a prayer and then say, let's get to the literature and do a little homework so I can come in here armed with some facts, not just talk. So, page 75, into action. We pocket our pride and go to it, eliminating every twist of character, every dark cranny of the past. Once you have taken this step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. We can look the world in the eye. We can be alone at perfect peace and ease. Our fears fall away from us. We begin to feel the nearness of our Creator. We may have had certain spiritual beliefs, but now we begin to have a spiritual experience. The feeling that the drink problem has disappeared will often come strongly. We feel we are on a broad highway, walking hand in hand with the Spirit of the universe. And that's just one of the things that I highlighted in this book, and there's so much important stuff in this book, and this is leading us up to step 6. For myself, I was developing a strong relationship with God. I did a fearless and thorough inventory. I shared it with somebody completely and honestly, every little thing, withholding nothing, which I failed to do so many times in the past. Some of my character defects are procrastination, unwillingness, stubbornness, dishonesty. I've sat down with guys before and tried to do a 5th step, and I just didn't put it all down there. I didn't do a thorough 4th step and get it all on paper because I just wasn't ready. I just wasn't ready to be honest with myself or anybody else, for that matter. So it goes on to say, returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for 1 hour, carefully reviewing what we have done. We thank God from the bottom of our heart that we know Him better. Taking this book down from off our shelf, we turn to this page, which contains the 12 steps. Carefully reading the first 5 proposals, we ask if we have omitted anything, for we are building an arch through which we shall walk a free man at last. Is our work solid so far? Are the stones properly in place? Have we skipped on the cement put into the foundation? Have we tried to make mortar without sand? So I'm going to read to you steps 6 and 7. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. And 7, humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. Two pretty short steps if you look at them word-wise. The 12 and 12 calls them the forgotten steps. It also says separates the men or women from the boys, and girls. Now, if I'm not truly ready to look at these character defects and have God remove them, I automatically thought that this is something I got to work on. I got to work on myself. I got to work on these character defects. It's a great feeling to know that I can just hand this over to God, something so powerful and so big. Because if I try to run this, get my meat hooks in this and my hands in it, I'm doing the same thing I used to do, which was to take my will back and my ego's running, and I'm right back where I started. So it goes on to the next page. And again, this steps 6 and 7, there's only really one page in the whole book about this. And see, these are two of the most vital steps. I have some side notes here. Like I said, the forgotten steps. If we can answer to our satisfaction, we look at step 6. We have emphasized willingness, and I underline emphasized willingness, as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God remove from all of us the things which you have admitted are objectionable? can he now take them all, every one? If we still cling to something, we will not let go. We will ask God to help us to be willing. Now it says this, if we are ready, we can say something like this, which is our 7-step prayer. My Creator, I am now willing that you have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go from here to do your bidding. Amen. And it says, now we have completed step 7. So that's pretty microwave sobriety right there, if you ask me. But I mean, again, I did a little more homework. I looked up, there's actually prayers for every step. So I looked up the 6-step prayer, which is very similar to the 7-step prayer. And it says, God, exclamation point. I am ready for you to help in removing from me the defects of character, which I now realize are an obstacle to my recovery. Help me to continue being honest with myself and guide me towards spiritual and mental health. In step 2, we're being restored to sanity because I lived an insane lifestyle. I lived an insane life. I mean, you pretty much could have checked me into any psych ward, asylum, and I would have, had probably been a good candidate for that place. And I also found some other stuff here. I love doing my homework and using the literature because, again, if I think I can do this myself without God, I'm right back to where I started from. So I was taught to be a seeker of knowledge, to be continually learning and be willing to grow and change and learn. So this was just something that says very well mined. There's so much information at our fingertips with our phone, with the computers and everything. In the previous steps we have done thoroughly and honestly. Many times facing the truth can bring a measure of guilt, which is a great motivation to become entirely ready to have those shortcomings removed. As with all the steps, the ability to become ready comes from a higher power, a power greater than yourself. And it goes to say, if you simply stop drinking and do not address some of these other issues, they can lead you into situations that may cause you to relapse. For example, if the way you express anger, the way you handle rejection is a problem for others around you, you can end up ruining a relationship that could cause you to pick up a drink again. Furthermore, if you only quit drinking and you do not address your other issues, you could end up with what we call a dry drunk, meaning you become bitter and resentful, in which case you may be sober but very unhappy. And I only chuckle because I've lived that. I've lived that, firsthand. I've done that. Just being dry. I remember just thinking, if I just put down the bottle, put the plug in the jug, put down the drink in the drug, I'm going to be good to go, And that's when the real me comes out. My character defects shine when I don't have my solution, my booze, my bags, whatever you call it. And goes on to say here, the reason why step 6 is so important in the process is that it focuses on the willingness to change the old behaviors that contributed to the alcohol problem. Stopping drinking without addressing those behaviors makes it easier to slip back into your old habits. That is why steps 4 through 7 are in the middle of the 12 steps. If you don't admit you have shortcomings and take steps to address those issues, a spiritual awakening may never come. It's all about being honest with yourself and those around you. And I can go on and on with this literature stuff. I mean, it's so good to have this stuff at our fingertips. And and it goes here. I read that 7-step prayer, and it goes right into a vigorous course of action. We're going to do our 8 and 9 step. And if I'm fearless and I do these previous steps, I'm going to have no problem to walk from this. Those 9-step promises are not far to come. If I have God, if I'm honest with my sponsor, if I do these things thoroughly. I don't want to say it's going to be a breeze, but it just seems to get easier if you incorporate this and be willing to do this in your life. The steps just start to happen. It starts to become habitual, and and then the magic really starts happening. I remember after doing my 5th step, I took my quiet hour. Ron is my sponsor. We sat. I was in a recovery house at the time, and we found time to do this together. And we uncovered more stuff. And we sat and he shared stuff with me. We laughed. And it was good. I was honest. I felt like I was very honest. And so he left, and I went and took my quiet hour. And I fell asleep, and I don't remember if he remembers, but I feel like I called him and said, I think I did it wrong. I fell asleep. And I'm like, your mind like shut down for once, and there was no more, hamster wheel going. I was like, I was seeing a change inside me. The material stuff was all starting to happen too with the jobs and stuff like that. That's just all byproduct. But the real change is starting to happen inside me. I'm starting to feel like I was a part of AA for once, part of my recovery, only through pain and suffering and numerous attempts to try to do this my way. And we joke about one guy being in front of the judge and saying, I'll do AA now, when like all the cards are on the table and you're out of like, you've exhausted every avenue, you've exhausted every possibility, you slept on all the couches and nobody wants you around, and your next thing is a jail stay or possibly a mental institution. So again, it's important for me to look at this stuff on a daily basis. My character defects can flare up at any time, but what a great feeling it is for me to turn to prayer instead of just, instead of responding. Like, I learned how to react for once, which is something they taught me a long time ago in rehab, in numerous rehabs, because I'm a compulsive, I just take action in wrong ways, in bad ways, with a lot of anger. I understand that these steps are in order for a reason. If, like I said, if our foundation is laid, and I do this thoroughly, and I'm honest with myself, first of all, step 1 is all about honesty. Step 2 is open-mindedness. Step 3, willingness. We get into our confession. We get into restitution eventually. The magic starts to really unfold, and I suffered for many, many years because I was unwilling to try or to do this in any way. If a low life, bottom of the barrel, junkie, alcoholic like myself can do this, anybody can do this. And I said this last week, like, do not sell yourself short. If you are willing to try and do this wholeheartedly, honestly, earnestly, you can do it as well. So it's a beautiful, beautiful process. Trust the process. I didn't believe in it. I didn't believe in those steps. I saw them on my first rehab. I saw that. I saw the big book. I said, this can't be it. This can't be what you're offering me. You got to have some magic pill. You got to have something. Certain doctor, a shock treatment, waterboarding, whatever it might be. Something, acupuncture, I don't know. Lobotomy. So anyway, it says, what can you do? Practical things that you can do to work toward understanding and overcoming your problematic behaviors include: list your faults, weaknesses, or challenges. For each one, note the ways the problem affects your behavior. Write down the effect this fault has both on you and others. Ask yourself what feelings are associated with this weakness. Are such behaviors intended to minimize or hide distressing emotions? Consider what your life would be like if you did not engage these behaviors. What are some strategies that you could use instead that would be more productive? It goes on with some of the history, and I'll tell you a little more of my experience. I was self-willed run riot. I was a really strong starter. Even as a child, like I would start really strong with sports, education, and quit. I'm an incredible quitter. If that is even a thing, or a really, really good procrastinator. And I do the same thing with with relationships. I'd be gung-ho in the beginning, treating the girl a certain way, flowers, taking them to dinner, and then then in my head I'm like, when's she gonna buy me something? It's already starting. Like, when am I gonna get like reciprocated here? What's going on here? And it was never enough. You're not treating me, and you're out of here. You got to go. On to the next one. And and that was my life for many, many years. And as a young child, it was the same way with school. I'd get an assignment, and the first like week or two, I'd be, pretty diligent, like going doing the homework and stuff like that, and then I'd just fizzle out. And that's how my recovery was too. I'd be in so much pain and suffering. I'd go to rehab, I'd get dry, and they'd tell me certain things. Don't go back to the place you went to. These are all rehab things. A lot of stuff's in the big book, but it's good stuff to get the ball rolling. And I didn't listen to any of it. It was, get right to a meeting, get your hand up, I'd get out of there and I'm going to go see my friends because I haven't seen them for a month. I miss them. Important things. I'd always go back to my parents' house because I was homeless, because I thought that was a good idea. They'd give me a list of ultimatums. You can't do this. You can't be at a certain time, curfews, and give me your bank card information and car keys. Got to be here. Like a child again, which I was. And and they told me other things like go to a recovery house. I was not having that. I had never been to one or seen one was or even looked at it, but I knew I didn't like it. So I would say no to all these things. I just had my own plans still, my own ideas and beliefs. So they said get to a meeting right away. Get your hand up. Say you're new. I need a sponsor. I want to do the steps. Like they told us these things in every rehab I was in. They'd always tell us these things, and I just wasn't having it, because I got big plans. Until finally, I just said okay. And the time before last, my previous sober date, I was like, probably about 82% there, I guess you'd say. And my parents finally put their foot down and said, you can't come back here again. My sister wasn't having me. My friends weren't having me. I had nowhere to go. So I said, all right, you guys win. I'll go to this recovery house and deal it and check it out. My first attempt was in Levittown, and it was like 17 guys in a house. And my dad walked me in there, and he saw the bunk beds, and he's like, you don't want to stay here, do you? I'm like, yes, I got them. Like, and he's like, we didn't know. He didn't know. He was just like, this doesn't look very healthy here. I'm like, well, whatever. I'm homeless. So he's like, well, maybe it'll be different. Come back to the house and we'll work things out. I'm like, got him again. So that was time before last. But anyway, so I'm in Penn Foundation for the fourth time, and my sixth rehab, and my parents were not having it. They're like, you're going to this recovery house. We found one in Quakertown, so you're going there. And I said, all right, whatever. And they're like, we'll pay your deposit. We'll get you in there, give you a little push, with like financially, because of course in my head, like, I got no money. How am I going to pay the rent? It's expensive. All the negativity, all the the complaining, and all the negative reasons why I can't go there and do this. So I go there, and it's an older house, clean though. Again, I'm homeless and I'm being picky, and I sit down with the lady, and she's like, we'd like you here for a minimum of 90 days. So boom, in my head, 90 days, I'm out of here. I already got plans, I already got ideas. Sign the lease. My grandfather helps with the deposit, first week's rent. It's weekly because that's how we do it. And for a little while, I was a part of my recovery. I had a little bit of foundation going, and I was making a lot of meetings. Not too much service. I did 0-step work. I think I was trying to use my sponsor, who was in Colorado, because that was easy. I could just pick the phone up and say, will you still be my sponsor in Colorado, and I'm in Pennsylvania? And it can be done. I'm not going to say you can't do long-distance sponsorship, but again, like, falling back on my old ideas, my old character defects, here we go, like, the easy way, always taking the easy way. So he said, yes, of course, we can I'll send you the stuff for a 4-step, and we can do it over the phone, no problem. He was willing. He's still sober. He's doing well out there, and again, I took the easy road, and after 90 days, financially I'm doing okay. I'm back on my feet a little bit. I'm working, paying my bills, put a little weight on. I'm showing up a little bit with the family. Don't have to hide their purse anymore. They don't have to hide their wallets anymore. They don't have to hide their car keys. So on the outside, I'm looking okay. I'm looking like I'm doing pretty good. So my sister kindly invites me into her home. Says, "You've been doing well. Would you like to come live with me and the kids?" And I said, yeah, sure. I'm tired of this recovery house. I've been here for 90 days already. And so right there, I disconnect so quickly. And looking back, it was unbelievable how fast it all unfolded. The first night there was like, I should get to a meeting, like, stay connected. They're like, will you cook us dinner? And I'm like, well, all right, well, I haven't been here, and I love to cook, and sure, I'll do it. So right there, the first night, like, I'm already, like, falling back, going the wrong direction. I disconnect from all the guys in the house. Everybody's texting me and calling me, looking like, where you at? And it's not long before I'm I'm going to work and I'm resentful. Like the behaviors are starting. I'm resentful of my boss. I'm resentful at the place I work. I'm not the manager yet. Why is this not happening so fast? You know, don't you know who I am? Like, my ego is just, and I'm angry. You know, zero recovery, zero meetings. You know, I pick up. It's obvious. I need to. I have to. I need it. You know, and for 4 months I ran it. I ran it pretty hard, man. It was not pretty. I'd show up to meetings high. You know, just so dishonest with myself, showing up here, and you know, I even came to this conscious contact a couple times, pretty altered. But I knew there was something there, and deep down inside, I wanted to be so, like, I liked the feeling of what was happening, but I had no choice in the matter. I picked up, you know, and at that point, it was mandatory for me to use. I was physically addicted again, so I had no choice. And my sister kicks me to the curb. She says, "This is it. You got to go. You're different. You're not interacting with us. You're not looking me in the eyes anymore. You're not around anymore. What's going on? Why are you sleeping at 11 o'clock in the morning? You're usually up at 6, walking the dogs, doing stuff around the house." All the signs are there, and I'm like, I'm just tired. I don't feel good. You know, I give them the whole run around, and you know, I got the dark lights in the dungeon room, and just back to my old ways. And Steph's like, "You cannot." My sister Stephanie, she's like, you cannot stay here anymore with the kids and everything. I'm sorry, you got to go. Pack your stuff up and get out right now. So I go back to mom and dad's because they didn't have the heart to throw me right to the street. And I bounced from there to my friend's house, and he's like, "Well, you can stay here for a little bit, but you got one chance. You pick up. I see that you're, you know, something's wrong with you. I can see it in your eyes. Close, good friend of mine. You're out. You know, we got one chance." And of course, I took advantage of him. I did it as long until I got caught. He found evidence, threw me out. So back I go to my parents. You know, I'm homeless, groveling, and they're like, "I don't know, man. You got to figure something out. You know, you can stay here for a little while, but you really got to figure something out. Why don't you go back to that recovery house? Why don't you get yourself into a rehab?" And I said, "Nah, I'll figure things out." You know, again, I got big plans, and you know, eventually of course, it was already bad, but previous times in going to rehabs and doing this stuff, my sister would find me a bed, my mom would find me a bed, my dad. I picked the phone up for once, the first time ever, in the 7 years of in and out, and called Penn and said, I need help. I want a bed, please. They said, "Come tomorrow, get an evaluation, get yourself here. Can you get here tomorrow?" I said, "Yeah, I'll be there." Or how about the next day, because I'm going to get it in tonight. I think I said something stupid like that. But anyway, I had to have one more run, right? So I worked it out because I'm an awesome manipulator. I juggled it. So my dad was in control of all my money, all my finances. I said, "Dad, I need all the money in my bank account. I got to go one more night." He's like, You're an adult. You're a grown man. Here's your money. We hope you don't die, and please get help and get yourself into a rehab." And that was the hardest thing for him to do. Was to do that and just say it's not in our hands anymore, because they'd think they were going to sign my death certificate by doing this, and it was a big stepping stone for them as well as me to, you know, for me to, like, you know, do this for once myself. And so that was my sober dates, April 19, 2016. I checked myself into the Penn Foundation. I said, "Please let me stay as long as you'll let me," and they said, "This is it. Like, you're out. This is your last free ride. Your county funding is up. This is it. You have a full detox, full 3 weeks, the 21 days, you know." And I said, "Thank you." And I feel like I had a spiritual experience in there. I really broke down and let myself go. And his walls, the barriers started coming down. All those defects we're talking about were just, I didn't want it anymore. It was too big. I just couldn't do it anymore. I could not do it anymore. And I prayed and I begged God that this would be it. This is it. Please, God, I'm going to die. Like, I was that desperate, a desperate man dying. And I shared with guys in there, and I shared with the counselors in there, and they said, "We're getting sick of seeing you in here, man. This is your 5th time here. You're beyond alumni." And Penn's still a big part of my recovery. I do the alumni meeting one day a month there. It's great. And you know, I've been doing that for 4 years now. It's amazing. But I stayed as long as they let me. I got myself back into a recovery house. I stayed there 16 months. I no longer was taking my will. I just said okay to everything and anything, because it just kept burning to the ground over and over. And so that's a little piece of me. Again, These steps are so valuable in our lives. They can really help and give us such a way to live. It's just like so important. So important. If we, coming to meetings is great. Fellowship is awesome. But I mean, for years I would come here and just like, why is nothing happening? I'm coming to these meetings and I'm not feeling any better. Like, what's going? Like, not realizing there was some work to be done and some good stuff here. So I hope I helped somebody today, and thank you for letting me be of service.
Please limit your sharing to 3 minutes and don't forget to remove your mask. Please keep your shares related to this step. If you feel like drinking or you have had a drink today, please see me or speak to someone after the meeting. We ask that you please refrain from the use of profanity. We are in a church and on a spiritual journey. I'd like to open the meeting.